in trial for serial robberies with the wife of the late former Vice President Matilda Amissah-Arthur being a victim. Now, we have the details for you, including how the court is dealing with this matter, because it raises fundamental questions about the personal security of the persons we're talking about. This is it. And we got information and some court documents that gives us a fair idea of what we have been talking about. Now, a businessman, Yahuza, that's the name that we got from the court documents that we have secured here on Ghana Tonight exclusively. A businessman with the name Yahuza is the man in the question as Osmanu Yahuza has been slapped with multiple charges for allegedly assaulting and robbing former Second Lady Matilda Amissah-Arthur at gunpoint at her residence in Accra. Now, the court documents, which we have a copy of, reveal that the businessman also robbed 4 others of various items. Now, when the charges were read to Yahuza in court, he pleaded not guilty to all of them. Now, he was remanded into prison custody and prosecution ordered to file documents to be used as evidence before May 21. Now, here are the details of what exactly is alleged to have been stolen and taken place. Now, there were 3 persons who were the complainants against this man for these robberies. One, Augustine Okre. He reported that his 2 Rolex wristwatches were stolen by this man, robbed. Then the 2 Rolex watches combined cost $61,000. And then also a cash of 2,000 Ghana cedis and 3,500 pounds were also stolen from Augustine Okre by this Yahuza we're talking about. The next complainant, Daniel Osafo, and his wife, Tracy Osei, also reported that this gentleman stole from them a Cartier wristwatch, which cost $9,000. Another Cartier wristwatch that cost $10,000. An iPhone Pro Max costing $1,000. A Cartier black pen. The Cartier black pen with a lot of specialties, if you do know it, $500. Now, gold chain, $5,000. Jewelry, $50,000. This Yahuza is also being accused of stealing from this couple. Then there was a third, and this is it. The former vice president's wife, Matilda Amissah-Arthur, was also robbed of cash, 3,000 Ghana cedis, $2,200, and 50 euros, including a gold watch costing 20,000 cedis, necklaces costing 5,000 Ghana cedis. Now, you might be wondering how all of this happened, and with all these 3 persons who are the complainants in this case. Now, these incidents happened in prime areas, and according to the court documents, it happened between September and December 2023, and then also we got some reports that spanned between the first month of January. Now, between the second quarter of the year 2023 and December 2023, the police CID received several complaints of residential robberies perpetrated by a single armed man around airport. Now, these are the areas that we're talking about. We're talking about airport, cantonments, and then also we have areas like Ridge as well, and Tesano, the residential area. So these are the locations where these robberies are reported to have taken place. Okay, the airport residential area, it took place in an apartment, and this is where the couple were living. Another apartment in cantonments, the robbery took place there. Another apartment at Ridge, then in Tesano as well. So very targeted plan, and we understand this was an individually orchestrated robbery with all these items stolen from these persons. There was actually a fourth complainant as well, and this 4th complainant also reported that some items were stolen from the residence. Now take a look at this. Margaret Alice Shaw also was the 4th complainant. reported that her Rolex watch, wristwatch costing $70,000 was stolen, and also another watch costing $15,000. And this Margaret we're talking about is related. In fact, we understand this is the wife of David Ajayi, the very well-known architect David Ajayi, and so his mother-in-law. Understand this is the mother-in-law of David Ajayi. The jewelry we understand that was stolen belonged to David Ajayi's wife, and this jewelry of $15,000 in there, plus a cash of $41,500. All these were reported to have been stolen by just this one man in different locations at different times, prime areas, and these were his targets. Now, let's understand the modus operandi of such a crime because of the items involved, the cost, and then even the individuals. And Mr. Richard Commodore is joining us. He's a fraud prevention expert and security consultant. Mr. Commodore, appreciate your time here on Ghana Tonight. I mean, take a look at the items involved and the time, the locations. I mean, if you talk about raids, cantonment, and these are apartments, you would think that these are very well protected areas. So you understand the modus operandi of such crimes. What exactly eluded the security so much that an individual could do all of this within this period?
Number one, he managed to get closer to them, and he used his position in close proximity to outweigh the security guards if there's even any. Number two, the individual personalities have also been, they have become soft targets as a result of being overly exposed to the extent that this particular individual might have followed them for a very long time, might have set them up for crime determinations, and would have observed their movements and create a very beautiful cover story. But I'm only worried for Amissah-Arthur's wife that the state is supposed to provide security for her, or even if the state is not doing that, then it means that the private security companies that provide personal security for her might have allowed this person with some level of crooked story that got her so close. And I don't think we are doing well in that regard. After this also raised the question of individuals in Ghana, the high echelon individuals in Ghana who have devoured themselves that they wouldn't take their personal security seriously until such a thing happened to them.
You raise a fundamental issue there about the individual security and so on. But some of these robberies happened in apartments where there's security there. Okay, there are 3 out of the 4 complainants that I detailed what was stolen from them. There's Rolex watches. And this person, at least based on the items that were stolen, you understand that he knew exactly what he was going out in for. These jewelries and how much it cost, Rolex watches, and all the items in there. I would see a pen and maybe not put so much value in it, but somebody who knows that a pen costs $500 would want to steal it. I mean, that's another aspect as well, is it not?
Definitely. And two fundamental questions again. Who are the people providing securities at these premises? What has been the relationship between the victim and the crime perpetrator? How did he get into the apartment? I can tell you for sure, having followed criminals for almost 3 decades, he used a very beautiful cover story under the pretense of providing some specialized services or some cozy relationships. Then the security officers on guard, even if there's any, might have allowed him in when the premises was right for him. Because he followed them for a very long time, he knew exactly what he was looking for, and he knew exactly where they keep some of these things. If this guy has breaking, damaged a lot of things, and if he killed somebody, then you would have expected that this is an aggressive criminal who was doing a haphazard job. But this particular guy, knowing what he has done to the people he has done to, and at the selected areas, he played a cover of darkness under the serene of people being hid in whatever they are doing, and he succeeded. I am thinking that, Alfred, if you get closer to many of our people in society, particularly the elite, they are so vulnerable that they don't even know what personal security is, let alone taking their personal security seriously. I will tell you a quick story. In the year 2000 downwards, we were at the banquet hall. A very prominent person in this country invited somebody who is not supposed to get closer to him or her. Then I was signal, but then I was in the BNI. I was signal to walk closer to this person and said, Mommy, Daddy, your status have changed. And the state is now in charge of your security. Then I could hear at the other side, sorry.
I see.
Something would have happened, and all of us would have been killed or go to prison because we would have failed to provide a needed personal security for her. I am saying that they need to take their personal security seriously and ensure they follow the standard procedure in that regard.
Indeed, but Mr. Kumado, you would also want to think that these persons are mindful of their personal security. That's why they would pay so much to be in an apartment that provides security for their residents in those apartments, because we understand these things happened in these apartments, as though they were outside. And this person,
you know what we have done? Can the state do a quick security risk assessment review? I am a master of that subject, but can the state do a quick security risk assessment of all our apartments in this country, particularly at the high levels of where our echelons live, cantonment, ridge, airport, and you will see the vulnerabilities. Just visit. Take your news clue, visit some of these apartments, and you will see the easy accessibility you could have with a simple cover story. And it makes them so vulnerable. And that is the point I was making, that their vulnerabilities might be created by themselves.
Indeed, Mr. Kumado, and on that bit about Amissah-Arthur, and not to single out her for any preferential reason, we do also empathize with all the others who have been robbed. But with the highlighted case of Mrs. Amissah-Arthur, you would want to think that this is someone who is of interest to the state, and so her personal security would obviously be of interest. We understand that she has some personal security at the residence, but based on the prosecution's facts that was presented in court on this matter, this is what, according to the prosecution, happened in the case of Mrs. Amissah-Arthur. Take a look at this. It says, now, Osumano Yahuza, who is the person being accused of this robbery, assaulted the former second lady by strangling and hitting her head repeatedly on the ground in her house while demanding more valuable items. Madame Amissah-Arthur lost consciousness momentarily, and when she regained consciousness, the accused person had left with her safe and the booty. This is the narration of the prosecution in this matter. I mean, where's the flaw? What happened? How could this have happened to have her at least go through this when she's said to have had personal security?
Since the year 2000, we've had a challenge of providing security protocol officers to our VIPs and VVIPs in this country. I have waged a crusade. I've spoken about it extensively, but nobody is listening. You'll be shocked and surprised to know that in this country, we do not have any particular individual, any state organization or state agency that selects, appoints, and assigns professional security protocols to our VIPs and VVIPs. In the case of her, I am not surprised, because it is interesting to know who are these security officers, who assigns them, what is the line of reporting, what's the line of responsibility. We just leave them to their own fate, and you don't even need a soothsayer, a prophet to tell you. Do a case study around President Kufuor, around President Mahama, around Mrs. Rawlings, and you will see who are the people providing securities for them and what has been the practice over the years. Apart from President Rawlings that has a specialized trained, the 64 security agencies or agencies who provided security for him, none of the president had it. And yet we brought in the democracy. We created a structure that do not hold, and we created a system that makes them so vulnerable at the very top. particularly when they have served at that level, you would have expected the state to take good care of them in terms of security protocols, but they don't do it. And I'm thinking that it is time for they themselves to take their personal security seriously. She would have been dead, and we would have come back to hear several stories and how her variables were taken away, how her in was breaking so easily that I think, one, she has been overly exposed. Number two, she has been vulnerable as a result of some public activity she might have engaged in. And number three, there's a disconnection between the people who are supposed to provide security protection for her and her personal outfit. And it needed to be resolved as quickly as possible. Mr.
Kumado, appreciate your time on this matter and your expertise, as always. Thank you so much for joining us. Richard Kumado is a former BNI operative or National Investigative Bureau now.